this show is amazing, and I think a lot of people are really gonna enjoy it. It's something that I think that's is gonna mean a lot to a whole lot of people, and you got to be excited to unveil this to the world, right?
Oh, it's a dream come true. I mean, I I guess it's kind of all roads lead to Rome, they say. It's kind of like all projects have led to this one. I I've been dreaming of doing this project since I was 16 years old, and I had my first camera that my dad gave me bought with money he didn't have. We went to Jerusalem together to Israel to do a documentary, and these ancient stories just sprang to life in an amazing way. And I began to dream of the project even then. It was like the first movie script I ever wrote. I don't know if it was very good. I was a very young filmmaker. So all the films that I've made have been trying to develop a skill set and I guess enough credibility to helm the story of David. So it really is a dream come true.
Yeah, because when we grew up and heard these stories in church, we probably had a much different version, or at least I did, of what this might look like. And so now you see it and you're like, oh, see, this makes a little bit more sense now, right?
Yeah, you learn, but I think that there's a reason that this story has endured, century after century and made such an impact and why it's amazing that we still sing this just David is a songwriter, we still sing his songs 3,000 years later. That's incredible. And it's just an epic life lived and sort of like the original hero's journey, in a way. Um, and so there's much to learn from the story, and it's everything you could ever want, in a story for a filmmaker. And yeah, I'm really grateful to be helming it.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's kind of cool too, is you've been able to do stuff that's completely positive, really, really cool, and sends a message. And so I think people find that inspiring, and they think, oh, see, I want to tell stories too. But it's so much harder than it looks. What kind of advice would you give to somebody that wants to follow in your footsteps and do what you do?
That's a great question. Look, the entertainment business is very hard, and it's so you have to love it. And so a lot of times I tell people, if there's anything in your life that you could do that would make you happy that's not this, you should probably do that. But if you're like me and you just it's something you have to do. I love telling stories. I love entertaining audiences. It's a great privilege, and it's incredible fun, even though the business is very difficult. And so I think that the lesson is that, what do they say? Success is long obedience in the same direction. Sometimes if you feel like you're supposed to do something, if you feel called to do something, just keep going, keep dreaming, keep believing, never give up. It's going to take a lot longer, it's been decades, this story in the making for me, and I've done other films in the meantime, and I'm grateful. But just like David himself, anointed king when he was a teenager, it was 15 years before there was a crown on his head. Sometimes the dreams that are in our hearts and souls take much longer to achieve than you think. And so the biggest thing is just don't quit, just keep going. If you really feel like you're supposed to do something, just don't give up on it.
Said, my co-host Drew Pearson is one of our great Dallas Cowboys, caught the Hail Mary, went in the Hall of Fame. And we talk about that Hail Mary moment, that moment in your life or career, you just had to go for it. And it worked out for you. What do you suppose that was for you?
There's been a lot of Hail Mary moments,
Yeah.
but I think, I do remember, I can only imagine back in 2018 was an independent film, and we had raised the money to make it and release it, and it did. We were hoping to do 15 million in box office. So we did that in the opening weekend, and it did almost 90 and was the number one independent film of the year, and really started our career. Uh, in a way that was really meaningful. So, that'll always be a special moment. But the success of the films, is a wonderful moment. But ultimately, what I've learned is the journey is the reward. It's the joy of making the thing, of telling a story, and then seeing it entertain an audience and be meaningful, to an audience, life changing in some cases to people that watch it. That's the gift. It's not about the result. It's just about the ability to create and do things that are meaningful, to you. And And but there have been several, and those breakthrough moments, they're few and far between. I mean, the rest is a lot of hard, I still tell you, the rest is a lot of hard work, and just not quitting. And but it's wonderful when those moments, when those Hail Mary passes are caught, it's a wonderful feeling. And I'm grateful that I've had a few of those in my career, and this moment is certainly one of them. It's something I've been dreaming of.
Talk about that too on the show, that success mindset that you have to have, whether or not you're feeling it or not. Is there something that you tell yourself, or maybe is it your faith? What is it that kind of keeps you going even when times are tough?
This is an interesting concept. This is a biblical show, and obviously David is this biblical figure. And one of the words that I found interesting, the word for humility, in the context of these stories, is actually to occupy a space. Like, this is my space. This is my. So a lot of times, I do have to. I've got a playlist of songs before meetings or a day's work that would make you laugh. In terms of that I play loudly. But the idea of, like, I do feel like we all have, I think one of the great themes in the David story is that we all have a destiny. We all have a purpose. There are moments in life that we are born for. I really do believe that. And finding and fulfilling your destiny is, I think, a huge theme in this story, and a huge theme in stories like this, whether it's Harry Potter or Star Wars or, Lord of the Rings, that kind of hero's journey. And I believe we all have a destiny, and a lot of life is finding it. So a lot of what I remind myself of is, like, I really do believe I'm born to do this. I'm right where I'm supposed to be, and this is meaningful to a lot of people. Expressing, finding what you're truly passionate about and what your gift is, and doing it for a cause, doing it for something, a reason that's bigger than you are, is a really special thing. And so just remind, especially when it gets hard. The other thing I like is, Tom Hanks talks about this, that this line, "This too shall pass." That applies to a lot of things in life. That applies when you're going through difficult things. That applies. Like, this will pass. Just get through it. But also, when you're, like, riding high and it's super successful, and you have, a movie that's a hit in the box office, yeah, that's gonna pass too. Don't get too high on yourself. And so sometimes I think just the idea that time is your ally and just keep going. Um, I just think that's the great lesson in my life, is just don't quit. I've found that success is by far the great teacher, even more. I'm sorry, failure is the great teacher, far more than success. And and so I think even the tough times that we go through are formative in those breakthrough moments. And so that I think that the key is to, like, if you can combine curiosity and this ability to always be learning with pain tolerance and grit, eventually you'll break through.
Oh man, that's so well said, and so true. And but in those moments when you're on the set, like for example in this set, at some point you have a vision in your head and you're going, okay, this is how it should look, and then you're on the set looking around, going, this is exactly how I envisioned it. Do you remember that moment? Because that had to have been pretty special.
Oh, I mean, just, dramatizing David and Goliath, in general. I had dreamed of that moment, for much of my career, and just I saw it differently, than I had seen it portrayed. And you want to give your take on it, and I think I love the first episode of House of David. Um, but the finale, the David and Goliath finale, is something that I really feel very passionately about. I'm grateful to have done, and I really feel like we captured, in a way that, in a way that's really, really special. And so it was kind of how I envisioned it, and how even as a fan, I'm like, I hope somebody finally does get David and Goliath justice, kind of like this. And so to have any role in bringing that version of the story to life is really special.
And of course, people will, I think, get something different out of it depending on who they are, or how they grew up, or what they believe in. So, what do you hope that people will take away from this one?
Well, I've asked myself that question quite often. It's like, of course, if you're a Christian, and if I remember when some executives at Amazon first read the scripts, they really liked them, and I'm like, yeah, it's based off a bestseller. You should check it out and read it. It'll change your life. So certainly, I have a deep belief in the material itself, but what I love about David is it really is one of those classic hero's journeys. And so I've thought a lot about and asked myself a lot about, um, what do we get out of these stories? And whether it's Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and I think if you love any of those, you'll instantly find your footing with House of David. And again, I think it just comes back to destiny and purpose. We all want to believe, we all feel that we have a destiny and we have a role to play in something bigger, and that we can find and follow our destiny and our purpose. And I think that that's written on our souls, and that's why these stories have echoed through the centuries. These heroes' journeys, I think that's the we all have that call to adventure, and that call to meaning and purpose, and that's why we keep coming back to these stories.
Yeah, I love that. Well, last thing, you're always working on something great, and I know you're already thinking about the next thing. What do we have to look forward to coming up from me? Because I know you got a lot of great content coming.
Well, we have this crazy idea that we started at what is basically an independent studio, called Wonder, and the idea of why can't we make a studio that can last as long as MGM, which is 100 years old, which is our partner. And that's a crazy idea. And what I love about it is, as that idea is coming to life, we're able to tell stories that I've been dreaming about for a long time, starting with House of David. So there's features in the works, there's other series in the works, and I can't wait for people to see what all we're working on, because it's pretty special. But that all starts with House of David, and that's the first. And I can't wait for people to see it. I really do it. I love it. I hope people love it as well.